Okay, in this tutorial, I'm going to talk about eighth notes. Now, it probably looks really familiar because I did a tutorial that looked like this earlier in the semester when we had just learned about whole notes and half notes and quarter notes. But this time, we're going to add eighth notes. Remember that when we first started studying rhythm, we learned that a whole note, which is this one that's an oval with no beam on it, that lasts for 4 beats, particularly in this time signature, 4/4 time. 4 beats in each measure, quarter note equals a beat. That's what that time signature is telling us. So a whole note equals 4 beats, fills up a whole measure by itself. A half note equals 2 beats, so it takes 2 of those to fill up a measure. It could also be a half note plus a half rest. We've learned about rests in the last couple of weeks, the last several weeks. Okay, so we know that it doesn't have to be 2 half notes. It could be a half note and a half rest, or a half note and a couple of quarter notes, or any combination thereof. But a half note is 2 beats. Quarter notes are 1 beat each. The new thing this week is the eighth notes, or the new thing in this tutorial anyway, depending on when you're looking at it. Eighth notes can be written like this with beams, or each of these notes could have a single flag on it instead of being joined together by beams. Either way, it doesn't really matter. The important thing to remember is the duration of an eighth note. It takes 2 of these to add up to 1 single quarter note. So eighth notes are faster than quarter notes. They are shorter than 1 beat. Each one is half of a beat. So it takes 2 eighth notes to add up to 1 quarter. And here, where we had 4 quarter notes completing a measure, it takes 8 eighth notes. Now, the other tricky thing about playing eighth notes is often people will play them in a way where they sound uneven, and that's not acceptable. For instance, if I just tried to clap a beat like this, and then say, oh, I'm going to do 2 for every beat. Ta-ta, 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 ta-ta. That's not right, because those eighth notes were not even. The first one was short, and then a longer second one. Hear it again. Ta-ta, ta-ta, ta. No, we don't want that. We want our eighth notes to be very even. So to make them even, what we do is something called subdividing the beat. We change the way we count. Instead of just counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, which was great when the shortest note was a quarter note, we need to count in such a way that we can keep track of eighth notes that fall on the beginning of the beat and eighth notes that fall in between beats. So what we're going to do is we're just going to change the way we count. We're going to say 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So what we're going to hear once I get this set up is we're going to hear 2 bars of no notes played, and I'll count so that you get an idea of what the tempo is. You'll hear the woodblock tapping each beat, but you'll hear my voice making 2 sounds per beat. The first sound will be a number, 1, and then an and. The second beat will be 2 and 3 and 4 and. And that's going to help us to keep track of eighth notes. So what we're going to hear is, whoops, I didn't go quite far enough. We're going to hear those counts along with the eighth note rhythms. Okay, I think I'm just about there. So we'll hear 2 blank bars with me counting, and then you'll hear these eighth notes playing. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2, 3, 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, now I didn't count that off very well, so let's go back and try it one more time. All right, just so you get the idea. You'll notice that there are 2 of those eighth note sounds for every quarter note, every beat, every wood block hit. You'll hear 2 of those quarter note, eighth note sounds. Here we go again. 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 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 2 and 3 and 4 and. So that's what eighth notes sound like. Now, as a musician, if you see music, particularly for beginner musicians, sometimes it's tricky. You see music that might start out with whole notes, half notes, quarters, combinations, and then suddenly you turn a page or you look down on the next system and there are a bunch of eighth notes. And people tend to panic and they play the eighth notes too fast. So what I'm going to demonstrate here is how you can use that subdivided count right from the very beginning. It will help you keep track of the speed of those eighth notes so that when you get to that section of the song, that section of the piece of music, you'll know exactly how fast they're supposed to be and you'll play them correctly. This is also going to help us, we'll see in a later lesson, that this is going to help us with rhythm exercises on the worksheets where I ask you to fill in bar lines or fill in extra notes or rests from measures that are missing notes and rests. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this again, and I'm going to count from the very beginning in eighth notes. And you'll hear when this whole note sounds, it lasts for 4 beats. So it'll play as I count 1. It'll keep playing as I say and, keep playing as I say 2 and. It'll keep playing as I say 3 and 4 and. And then when we get to the next measure, this note will sound on beat 1 again. And you'll hear it last 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. When I get down to the half notes, each one is going to last 2 complete beats. So now, since I'm subdividing, 2 complete beats will be 1 and 2 and this next half note will sound on 3 and 4 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. The quarters, each one will be a complete beat. Complete beat meaning a number and the syllable and. So this will be 1 and, 2 and, 3 and, 4 and. And finally, when we get down to the eighth notes, each one will get one sound, one count. This is 1. That's the and of beat 1. This is 2. It's the and of beat 2. 3 and of beat 4. This is and of beat 3. 4 and the and of beat 4 is right here. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, let's give it a listen. And again, I'll count out loud. Try counting along or tapping along with me as you listen. 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and ready, go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, so that's what eighth notes sound like. And again, it may be hard for some of you who are new to this to understand what's the big deal of this counting. How's this counting really going to help me? Well, it definitely help you if you're playing an instrument. And I hope some of you already play or will play an instrument after taking this class. But even more important or more practically for some of you now is this counting system is what we're going to use to help us solve some of the rhythm problems that you're going to see perhaps in the exercises in EMT on the web, and definitely on the exercises you're going to see on the worksheets. And we all know the things that show up on the worksheets end up showing up on the tests too. So practice, practice, practice. Ask questions if you need to. Right? That's it for this tutorial.